Oh. This is actually like the best place to stream ever. I'm warm. Got a bookcase in the background. What's up, everybody? I see someone, I Heart Georgia. Is that Georgian color revolution propaganda? Or is that an anti-Georgian color revolution account? Thoughts on Yugoslavia? It was a good but flawed socialist project, sort of market socialism type deal. And basically what the U.S. did was they preyed on people's nationalistic instincts to turn the different ethnic groups, thank you for the sticker, to turn the different ethnic groups that made up Yugoslavia against each other. And things really, devolved in the 90s. And the one country that was kind of trying to hold some of the Yugoslav socialist economy together and, not just sell it all off to Western corporations was Serbia, which is why NATO then bombed Serbia. And they backed the Kosovo Liberation Army, which had previously been considered a terror group. But the U.S. removed them from the listing of terror groups, gave them a bunch of weapons, gave them arms, very similar to what they did with. But the U.S. removed them from the listing of terror groups, gave them a bunch of weapons, gave them arms, very similar to what they did with these people who just took over Syria, who just toppled the Assad regime. A few years ago. Thank you for the sticker. A few years ago, the media was open. Oh yeah, the media was openly calling these people extremists, and now they've been rebranded as democratic revolutionaries. So it's a playbook that's been around for a while. Thank you. These stickers are hilarious. So similar to that, the KLA was rebranded as freedom fighters, and then they carved the country of Kosovo. Now, thank you for the stickers. They carved that out of Serbia. And now that place, Kosovo, thank you. What the hell? Oh, that's funny. Now Kosovo has more NATO troops stationed there than anywhere else on Earth. So it was absolutely a U.S. regime change effort that toppled socialist Yugoslavia. Now there's a saying in Yugoslavia, like when a light bulb doesn't work, they'll say like, oh, if Tito was here, this light bulb would work. Like everything just functioned better, they felt like, before the collapse of the United Socialist Government, which is now a bunch of different countries that are called the Balkans, and really the fighting hasn't ever stopped since Yugoslavia's collapse. There's still all these border conflicts and ethnic conflicts. So thank you, Ritai Su. Love your glasses. Thank you. How do you feel about leftists calling you a Fed? It hurts my feelings because, I wish that some world government would give me $1 million, but unfortunately for me, they're not. Why does Jackson Hinkle support Trump? He doesn't. He just wants to inject communism into the working class base of Trump's, or the working class members of Trump's supporter base. Why does West want the extremist apparatus to gain power? Yeah, let's talk about Syria. So you have all these people with like Palestine flags in their bio cheering on the collapse of the Syrian government because they don't like Bashar al-Assad because corruption or whatever. And I could make a million critiques of Assad, right? Assad's not a Marxist-Leninist. He's a Ba'athist socialist. There is corruption in the Syrian government. Assad refused to essentially kick these extremist groups completely out of Syria after the last civil war. So he let these U.S.-backed extremist groups just hang around and occupy parts of his country until they could regroup and, with the support of the white and blue country in the U.S., eventually topple his government. So there are legitimate critiques of Assad. That being said, if you're cheering for his government to be deposed, like, you're just straight up not pro-Palestine, because the Syrian Ba'athist socialist government was a vital part of the resistance network, you know, working, giving weapons and trading with Hezbollah in Lebanon, in other anti-Zionist groups in the region. So already, after the Assad government collapsed, the Zionists have already invaded the Golan Heights, which is this area that's always been an area of conflict between Syria and the white and blue country as to who owns the land. And of course, it rightfully belongs to Syria, but the white and blue country has wanted more, and the Assad government has been preventing that. And the Zionist troops are already on the move, already seizing parts of Syria. So it's so absurd to see these people like, what's that guy's name? Like Mohammed Hijab or whatever his name is. He's some Sunni guy who always goes on Piers Morgan and screams about how much he loves Palestine. He's cheering on the toppling of the Assad government that's going to do nothing except for cede more land to the Zionists. So it's like, if you're cheering on U.S.-backed, Zionist-backed regime change, how are you anti-Zionist? You know, it just doesn't, it's people with no conception of geopolitics. They just think, you know, it's a game of personalities. I don't like Assad. You know, I don't like this leader. Sure, I'm going to cheer for regime change. Well, cool. That does a lot of good now that the country's run by jihadists and Israel seizing half their land. You know, what a great deed you did for the Palestinians by cheering on the overthrow of Assad. It's so absurd. But, you know, more than anything, I think it shows the need for Marxism-Leninism. It shows the need for class analysis. Like, yes, you know, I like all these Muslim resistance groups who are fighting U.S. imperialism. Obviously, I'd side with them over U.S. imperialism, but, like, one of the mistakes that Assad made was he didn't gain a strong enough base of support among the people, because he tried to unite sections of the ruling class, sections of the Syrian bourgeoisie, who are opportunist and easy to be bribed by the U.S. And then because of that, he didn't have enough support from the base of his country, the actual working class. It's like, you need to understand those class forces. Understand that the U.S. empire is going to prey upon the rich in your country, the bourgeoisie in your country, to try and turn them against the government. And in order to stop that, you have to have the support of the people. And in order to have the support of the people, you need to do land redistribution and meet the people's needs and side with the people against the bourgeoisie of your own country. But because they didn't have the Marxist-Leninist analysis, they didn't understand this, and now you have a bunch of crazy jihad warriors taking over Syria. And you know, how ridiculous are those people, right? There's that meme going around right now, like, about the jihadists taking over Syria, where when they're talking about Palestine, they're like, all we can do is pray. Pray for Palestine and post more pictures for them on social media. But then when it comes to Syria, they're like, jihad, yes, I will risk my life to overthrow the government. I will do anything to overthrow Assad. Like, where were you when Gaza needed you? You were posting pictures on Instagram and talking about how all we can do is pray. But then once the U.S. gives you weapons to overthrow a country that's vital to the resistance network against Zionism, you're all on board. And I know, like, I've talked to people who were in Libya when the U.S.-NATO war in Libya was going on. They're like, you know, I was tricked. I was completely tricked. I fought against the Gaddafi government. We overthrew him, and Libya turned into chaos. And now, if I could go back in time, I would fight for the Gaddafi government, because I realized that I was tricked by the U.S. and I was made to be a tool of them, and it destroyed my own country. And a lot of these people, a lot of these dimwits are going to realize the same thing about Syria, that they basically threw their own country into chaos at the behest of Zionists in the U.S. But, you know, the conditions were created for that by, like, the U.S. sanctions on Syria. The U.S. repeatedly missile-striked Syria, put sanctions on them. And like I said, Assad didn't do enough to redistribute wealth towards the bottom, so it created these incredibly impoverished people who were then easy to bribe to go attack the government. Now, the situation isn't over. The Syrian forces basically didn't fight. They didn't put up much of a fight at all. So those forces who are loyal to Syria are still there. It's just a matter of who gets the military equipment now, or that's a big question going forward, is like, will these U.S. and Zionist-backed extremists get gain control of the military, or will all of the military equipment remain in the hands of the Syrian armed forces, and will they fight to establish a new kind of government? We'll see. It's not over yet, but really it's hard to not draw the comparison to Libya, where you have people who think that they're liberating their own country, and it's because they don't have the geopolitical understanding to know that, no, you're actually just puppets of the U.S., and you just dealt an incredible blow to the axis of resistance and the forces resisting U.S. and Zionist imperialism in the Middle East. And that's why education's so important. That's why, the countries who have been most successful in combating imperialism have been the DPRK, China, Vietnam, Laos, Cuba, even Venezuela, who's moving in a more Marxist-Leninist direction as we speak. Like, it's these countries who understand class, they understand class forces, and they aren't naive about the U.S. empire. Like, if you listen to any of Assad's interviews with Western journalists, he was always trying to get them to think he's a good guy. And Venezuela has done that in the past. Like, maybe if we, give the U.S. some of what they want, then they'll leave us alone. No, they're never going to leave you alone. They are never going to leave you alone unless you act as a complete and total puppet, a complete and total sellout. They are going to try and starve your people and kill you. And the only countries who aren't naive about this are the Marxist-Leninist ones, are Cuba, are China, are the DPRK. Even Iran is naive about this. There's all these reformists in Iran who are like, oh, if we make changes to our country, we can work with the U.S. No, the U.S. is going to destroy you and pillage your economy and impoverish your people and assassinate your leaders. Guaranteed. Do not be naive about this. It's like the DPRK, for example, so-called North Korea, would never even question giving up their nuclear program, right? Like, no, we need this for self-defense. If we give this up, the U.S. will invade tomorrow. They're not naive about it. Gaddafi gave up his nuclear program, right? The U.S. was like, give up your nukes and we'll leave you alone. If you appease us a little bit, we'll leave you alone. Bro gives up his nukes. Next thing you know, his country's run by U.S.-backed jihadists, and there's an open-air slave market. And, I don't get how countries are still naive about this. Like, John Bolton literally said that we want to follow the Libya model with North Korea, meaning we want them to give up their nuclear program, and then we want to destroy them and make them a country with essentially no central government. And it's just like, when are people going to stop falling for this? When are Americans going to do something, to end the disgusting actions of our own government is the real question. Don't speak on Syria without having a Syrian guest on. Well, guess what? My country just overthrew the Syrian government, so I'm going to talk about it all I want. Let Syrians be happy. Yeah, they're going to be super happy now that the country's run by warring jihadist groups and warlords. Just wait. They're going to be really happy when Israel takes over half the country. And that's just what Syrians want, isn't it? Right? Genius. From Damascus to Jerusalem. You are correct. Thank you. Do you think Assad was good at implementing his ideology and helping the people forward? Nah. Not really, to be honest with you. The people who are calling for the overthrow of Assad are morons who don't understand how the world works. And it's like, even if you don't like Assad or think he's perfect, the country's now going to be run by Sunni extremists and by Israel and by the United States, and that's going to spread. They're not done with Syria. Armenia's next, and then they'll work their way up to the Russian republics of Dagestan and Chechnya, where this Sunni extremism, U.S.-backed Sunni extremism, has been really popular. But, no, Assad did not do a good job of, earning himself a base of support by meeting the people's material needs or, rallying people to the revolution. I don't think, on a personal level, I don't think Assad ever wanted to be a leader. His brother was much more the fighter, Maher, I don't know how to say it in Arabic, but Maher Hafez al-Assad. He was more of the fighter, more of the warrior. Assad was like, I just want to go paint and hang out with my family, but he was kind of thrust into this position. No, he didn't do a great job. He let the Sunni extremists occupy Idlib after Syria won the war in 2016 with the help of Russia. They wouldn't have won without Russia. They basically let these extremists just hang out in the country until they could regroup and launch another attack. It's like, bro, what are you doing? So this is what I'm saying. Like, even though I don't support the overthrow of the Assad government, there are lessons to be learned from this. Mainly that you can't be naive about the West. You can't try to appease imperialism, and you have to, create a strong base of support among your people. And if you don't meet their material needs, that won't happen. 90% of Chinese people support the government. Why is that? Not because they're all communists or because they're all brainwashed. It's because their needs, that won't happen. 90% of Chinese people support the government. Why is that? Not because they're all communists or because they're all brainwashed. It's because their lives keep getting better. Their material conditions keep improving. Every generation in China, lives better than the generation before them. That's what you have to do. And in order to do that, you have to crack down on the capitalist class. You have to crack down on the bourgeoisie and be what we call in Marxism a dictatorship of the proletariat. Your state needs to represent the working class. You can't do this class collaborationism that the Ba'athist socialists tried to do. The capitalists are too easy to bribe. So yeah, that's my feelings on Assad. Israel can try, but it won't work. It's not that easy. I hope you're right. Netanyahu won in Syria. Very true. The truth is that communism is the only way. This is axiomatic. It's true, Rars. That is the takeaway that people should learn from this. And the takeaway that people should learn from reformists gaining power in Iran. It's all being pushed by the oligarch class, the rich. But because the Iranian Revolution disavowed materialism and said, no, we're going to be, a strictly Muslim revolution, they have no analysis of these class forces and the corruption that the bourgeois class breeds. And now, all the hardliners in Iran, the real anti-imperialist revolutionaries, all they want to do is read the Quran. And no offense, I respect everybody's religious beliefs, but it's you need to be studying class. You need to be studying dialectical materialism, not waiting for God to save you. I'm sorry. Look, did God save Syria? I know I'm being a little harsh right now, but this is really a disastrous situation that could have been prevented. With the most effective anti-imperialist ideology in the world today, which is Marxism-Leninism. Israeli news literally said they needed Bashar. No, that's just a lie. As soon as the government was toppled, it took minutes for the Zionists to seize the Golan Heights and other areas. It took minutes for the IDF to launch an invasion. They were waiting for Assad to go away, and now, of course, these Sunnis, these extremists who took over, we don't need to worry about that. We're worried about setting up a new Syrian government. We don't need to worry that half the freaking country is getting taken over by Zionists. It's of course, because you guys are puppets of the Zionists. What about chemical weapons? Well, first of all, look into Aaron Mate's reporting on the chemical weapons. It's definitely not the story that we've been given. But second of all, like if you're just gonna point to random atrocities, what about all the beheadings? What about 9/11? You realize the group that just took over is a splinter of ISIS, right? And the core of their fighters are Al Qaeda, the people who did 9/11. So don't point to, random atrocities and be like, this government needs to be overthrown. They did something bad. This government needs to be overthrown. They did something bad. Because the people who are overthrowing the government are doing mass beheadings of Christians. And they orchestrated 9/11. Like the arguments against or in favor of regime change in Syria, it's really making me wonder if some people don't have any brain cells, like if their brains are made of melted M&Ms, like mushed together, if you let a bag of M&Ms sit in the car during the summer for like 3 weeks straight and it became just this colorful mush. I feel like that's what the brains of Syrian regime change advocates are made of. How do I let people on here to speak? I don't know how to do it. Oh, there we go.
Hello, brother.
Hello, what's up?
Yeah, man, this is sad news, man, for the people of Syria, man.
It is really sad. I wish it wasn't the case, but I
No.
feel like Russia was too tied up in Ukraine to save them this time.
Yeah, actually, it's also that my friend, he was there, he is Wagner, and he's older than me. Yeah? And he say, we fight in 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18. He say, we spill blood on the ground of Syria, Russian blood. We fight in 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18. He say, we spill blood on the ground of Syria, Russian blood. These guys, the army come, these guys, Daesh, they run away. Now, of course, Russia, it's like, okay, bullshit, we're not going to spill blood again. If you don't want to fight for own country, why we should? Or Iran, it's like, okay, bullshit, we're not going to spill blood again. If you don't want to fight for own country, why we should or Iran should fight for their country?
True. I was wondering the same thing. Like there are thousands of, armed forces in Syria, like government armed forces, and they didn't do anything.
Nothing.
I don't know if they're going to continue to fight or what's going to happen now, or if they're just
Assad is in Moscow now.
Yeah, I saw that.
He gave up. He gave up. He's just, yeah, okay, bye-bye, guys. That's it, then. Yeah, I go. What the fuck, man?
He's never been a fighter.
No, he was actually, I remember the West put him very badly, but if you see his interviews, he's a very smart, educated person.
Yeah, very
very
soft
smart.
spoken. Yeah.
Yes, he's not like the president of Belarus, like screaming sometimes, crazy man. No, he's very soft spoken. He's actually more Western way of talking, like very smart,
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes I feel like I think he tried to appease the West too much too. Like tried to be their friend. Never works. Never ever works.
Turkey, it's the biggest backstepper what I ever saw. If I look at Israel, I can clearly see this is my enemy. Ukraine, this is my enemy. USA, this is my enemy. I never expected this big backstepping. Small backstepping, yes. But this, did you see the fighters with Ukrainian gear, trained like special forces? They have night vision, drones, howitzer, armored vehicles. Now I'm soldier. I can see this is more professional. Some of me, more professional than me. How is this happen?
Yep, I heard a bunch of them were not just equipped by Ukraine, but trained by them as well.
Yes, because you can listen, brother. You cannot learn how to do urban combat just by training in the training field. These guys were so professional. They attacked a tank, like a squad, like special forces. So I'm going to say something crazy. Maybe these are also maybe Ahmad soldier, ex-Ahmad soldier. Maybe, I don't know. I don't want my government to get angry, but maybe. I don't know. This is conspiracy. Maybe I am crazy, but because this is too professional.
Yeah, I don't know. It's Erdogan seems to be just a complete puppet
Of
of NATO in the West, or I don't know. I mean, Turkey has their own
no,
interests though too.
no, their own. They're the most dangerous ones because they're on the border of Africa. Remember 2014, he blackmailed the West. If you don't give me what I want, I'm going to send 4 million refugees in your countries. Remember this?
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah. And then he also shut down fighter jet of us. And then he said, no, I love Russia, eat ice cream with Putin. Then he F a little bit to West, then he changed. Then in Ukraine, he say, no Russian ships in Black Sea. Remember this?
Mm-hmm.
So he changed every time. He's like a woman who's angry. Sorry. Don't want to sound with the left.
Do you think
So-
Armenia is next, and do you think Russia would get involved to help Armenia?
If you ask me, I got crazy conspiracy. If Putin or Kadyrov get unalive, or just natural cause of whatever that happened, Chechnya is next.
Yes, I agree with that 100%.
Totally Chechnya next. But
Yeah.
this time, it's not Chechnya 90s. This is Chechen fighters who are professional, backed by Turkey, backed by Israel, backed by USA. Now they are trained already. Look at what happened. They're a good soldier. Okay, then we have another option, maybe Azerbaijan. I don't know what's the interest, maybe to get a little bit Iran. Lebanon is for sure. They're done. They're encircled now. They have no more supply chain. They're encircled with 2 armies. GG well played, Israel. They win this one. Greater Israel come. No, I'm sorry. We cannot do nothing about this.
Yeah.
So NATO win this one. This one is NATO, man. Sorry. I hate to say. I hate to give the enemy a compliment. But they did this very good. They outplayed us. They outplayed Russia. Outplayed Iran. Outplayed Hezbollah. Outplayed the big ones, you know.
Yep. Absolutely.
What's your opinion about this one?
No, I agree. We have to. I wish it wasn't the case, but you're right. It's a huge W for NATO, and it's interesting to see how many people don't understand that yet. They have no conception of geopolitics. So there are people who think they support Palestine, and then they, are cheering for the toppling of the Syrian government. It's like, I have no idea what's going on in the world, but I think
It's a total mess now.
it is, and the first thing that came to mind was like how this will embolden the Sunnis in Chechnya, and I know like you would probably know better than me, but I'm pretty sure some of the people in Kadyrov's government even were people who fought against him in the civil war, who he was able to bring to heel. But who knows, if they'll switch sides.
It's not like us. It's not like we are like we get one leader and okay, but these are tribal person. So their family, the Kadyrov family, there are strong people, but you have more families. Now, if Kadyrov unalive, his son is young kid. He's not strong enough, so they don't respect it. Even he's his kid, no, he's not strong, he's not violent enough. They only understand violent. And so, yes, internal fighting, this is why Kadyrov, he's very, let's say, psycho. But we Western people and even Russian people look at this is a little bit savage. But this is their culture. We cannot judge this. This is the way they know it. I cannot force them to think otherwise.
Right. No, I agree. I think he's
But they're next. Yes, they're next. Or yeah, of course, what we say, Free Syrian Army, Daesh, is now Israel also entered Syria. You see?
Yep.
The Golden Heights.
Yep, they've already seized a huge portion of it.
Well, and did you see the leader of the Daesh? He say, we don't have any problem with Israel. Actually, we love them because they destroyed his H group. And what our only enemy, he say, Iran, Russia, and H group.
Oh
And Assad, of course.
Of course. That's crazy. What's up, Raris? How's it going?
What's up? What's up, guys? Can you hear me?
Yeah. What's your take on what's going on?
Well,
Where'd
It's very sad what's happening, but it's nothing I didn't expect, to be honest. I mean, I'm sure you saw the thread I wrote around 2 months ago regarding multipolarity. I thought this whole multipolarista thing was honestly kind of distracting from what was actually going on, the real movement of things geopolitically. And, what's happened now with Syria, with the complete defanging and destruction of the axis of resistance, not even defanging, it's just been completely destroyed, totally proves what I said, and that, communism really is the only viable path to actual sovereign regional development. And, we see that in Syria. It's very sad what happened. Honestly, we see a tale of not only internal betrayal, but also external.
Oh no, we lost him.
You have to stay in the app.
Oh, do I have to stay in the app? Oh,
Yes,
bad.
otherwise
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't hear you.
Well, I was saying in the case of Iran, we saw the reformist faction in Iran, of course headed by President Pezeshkian, doing backdoor deals, as confirmed by New York Times, with HTS, saying that they're going to pull out their troops as long as they're allowed safe passage. And they essentially sold out completely. They completely sold out their ally Syria, and in doing so, have also sold out the Palestinian resistance, because, as we know, Syria was the one that was actually materially aiding the resistance. Now, what this means is that completely the axis of resistance is defanged, and this is what I mean when I say this is really a story of betrayal, and it's very sad, and it has huge implications for multipolarity and what communists, I think, need to rethink and kind of regroup and reconsider our previously held assumptions. And I think we've been doing that already, which is actually quite good. I'm happy with what we're seeing. It's a bit of a bittersweet victory, but
Right. Yeah, it's like the silver lining of a trash situation, but I think people underestimated the significance of Raisi and that plane, helicopter going down, and we could draw all sorts of implications for how that happened, and whether the Mossad was involved or not. But that kind of set Iran on this reformist path, and I was talking to Haas last night, and he's like, the hardline revolutionaries, the non-reformists in Iran, they're not communists, they're not Marxist-Leninists, they're mostly reading the Quran. So it's left them, they have no understanding that the oligarch class in Iran is the one that's selling out, because they want their money that's locked up with U.S. sanctions. And they'll do anything for that money. So it's created this opportunist class. And you really had the same thing in Syria, because there wasn't, the Assad regime, I shouldn't call it the regime, the Assad government tried to unite sections of the Syrian ruling class, the Syrian bourgeoisie, but there was never any real substantial land reform. He didn't have a strong enough base of support among the regular people, and it seems like they weren't willing to fight for him at all when push came to shove. So I think it's reasserting the importance of class analysis and materialism, and I think we're seeing that.
It's really coming back to grounding ourselves on a purely Marxist analysis, and in many ways that is positive, I think. But even when it comes to Iran, right? Iran, given everything that happened since Raisi's death, I mean, the oligarchic class that usurped Iran for a long time, and the rabid neoliberal shock therapy, which has persisted for around 3 decades, culminating in declining wages, rising cost of living, growing disconnect between state and its traditional support base, which Raisi did have and did galvanize, and coupled with dollarization of internal trade, where between producers and suppliers, it just makes you really wonder to what extent the oligarchic class of Iran was ever truly committed to establishing an alternative to U.S. hegemony, right? And what we see now is that internal policy is always downstream from foreign, and we really are seeing that happening right before our eyes. And we're not just seeing it in Syria, but we're seeing kind of NATO's victories in Romania, in Moldova, in Georgia.
Yep.
We're seeing really what is the persistence of U.S. hegemony and their advance on multiple fronts. And it's like, how do we reckon with this?
I don't know.
We've got Katharina, the Duchess of Kiev, here to spice things up. What's up, Katharina? What do you have to add to this situation? Oh, she's gone.
You don't like Russia?
No, I thought she was going to say some Banderite bullshit.
There's one a guy. He named the Arab. He say Syrian guy.
Oh,
Maybe
should we
you
let
bring
him in?
I don't know. He sound good, but I don't know.
Yo, Brostislav, you remember me?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you were saying a lot of wacky stuff about Lenin.
Yeah, I don't like Lenin. Stalin a little bit better.
You know what's funny? I heard this view from a lot of diaspora that they say like Lenin was backed by the West, but
No, I don't know. I don't know.
But well, they say yes, he was backed by the West, but they ended up abandoning the West and forming their own path. So it's interesting how like because this is what I hear from a lot of like
No,
diaspora.
because actually the West supported the White Army with weapons. I remember.
Yeah, exactly.
If you actually look at old footage, you can even see sometimes American flag. Now,
Yeah,
I'm not proud
that's
of these guys. Come on.
that's the biggest argument against the fact like the Bolsheviks were obviously not backed by the West, but even if they were, right, the entire like major great Western capitalist powers invaded Russia in the Russian Civil War. So, clearly,
Actually, no, because it was also the Czech forces, I remember, who supported, what is his name, the admiral. They supported him, and French forces little bit. So no, the West was trying to get the white people in, because they don't want to domino effect of communism.
well, I'm curious. What do you think about Saint Tikhon saying that Lenin had a truly Christian soul, and that he actually gave permission for believers to actually commemorate him?
He was drunk. Sorry.
You say he was drunk?
I don't know. Saint doesn't mean that actually everything is right,
Yeah,
Maybe
of course not.
of course, maybe, because I think, this is my truly opinion about communism. The thinking is good. The thinking is good. To be honest, to be sharing everything. But for me, it's always the human nature who is corrupted, and you get a psychopath on the power. Or a bad person.
Yeah, but I mean, according to Orthodox theology, though, like we reject the concept of original sin. We don't believe human beings are born inherently sinful.
No, but what I mean, so imagine you have very good people. Now you imagine you and the host and say his name, guys. Come on, I'm
Rares.
a dislike.
Oh, Rares.
Rares. You guys are very good, okay? You are like real communists. You want to do for the poor people. Now I am a bad person. I'm a very bad person. I like my gold. I like my money. Now I'm going to be, I'm so nice. I'm going to trick you guys. And on the second, again, I pew you in the back.
Yeah, I mean, but the biggest thing to this is just like you look at China, they have an anti-corruption campaign. So sure, you could say corruption is inevitable, but like, I mean, for example, Stalin was getting rid of all this corruption, and we see it happen.
Stalin get rid of everybody.
And that's why, I mean, the communism is superior if you look at like Syria versus China. The reason China has been able to sustain themselves and combat imperialism more successfully, or the DPRK in North Korea, is because they understand that a lot of corruption actually stems from class forces. It stems from the capitalist class, and those are the people who ultimately sold out Assad, him or the impoverished masses. And the reason that China still has the support, like 90% of Chinese people support their government, is because their material conditions are always improving.
Exactly.
The thing about Syria is that no one knows what's going on. Like when the first fall of Aleppo happened, we understood because the 4th Division and the Tiger forces that were on the border of Idlib, and they told us to stop pushing in. They told us to stop because they're just civilians there, and they put tight sanctions on us. They were parked out there since all the way until the invasion of Lebanon, and we pulled out all our forces from up there to protect ourselves from Jolan. We moved our forces down there. That's why they just walked into Aleppo. That's why I wasn't worried during this attack at first. I was like, this is the best thing that could happen to us because now we could at least get rid of Idlib. I was talking to my aunts and uncles. I was like, yeah, we're gonna visit Idlib this summer, but it was unbelievable. No one understands what's happening. The Syrian army was capable to take on Turkey, but we just weren't fighting. They were just retreating. It was just like the Baghdad when Saddam Hussein, the era of Saddam Hussein, when the U.S. couldn't go into Fallujah. It took them 6 months or something like that to get into Fallujah. You're telling me Baghdad that had 1 million soldiers, they're gonna get into it? It took 5 minutes to get into Baghdad. It took longer to get into the Baghdad airport than all of Baghdad itself. There had to be something wrong. Like it just does not make sense to me. Like honestly, like
I mean,
Real-
Syria shouldn't have allowed Idlib to just remain dormant for like 6
Yeah,
years.
yeah, but this was the accords with Turkey, I think.
yeah,
Yes, with
we
Russia
couldn't
and
do
Turkey.
anything.
Yeah.
Turkey was
These are the
protecting-
accords Russia oversaw at Astana.
Sorry,
it
guys.
wasn't the choice of Assad.
Turkey. I was talking to my uncle when they were at Hama. This is when the Syrian army was ready. They were meeting them in Hama. The Syrian army, my uncle was calling them, not the Syrian army, the meat grinders. We were grinding the rebels. But once they step foot in the city, we retreat. It just doesn't make sense. It was not making sense. Then it was Hummus. Right when Hummus happened, I was sitting there. I was so pissed off. I just do not understand what was going
No,
on. No
I
one
agree.
understands.
Medvedev blundered with Astana. I mean, they were about to be wiped out in Idlib, and this would never have happened.
The thing is, we couldn't go into Idlib. Like we had all these issues, like all these sanctions and stuff like that. It just doesn't make sense. But we still could have pushed back. They were such a small amount of numbers. Like they weren't fortifying these positions. They were taking it over.
No.
Then they kept moving. You know what I mean?
I think it's because there's not a unifying principle like with the Syrian government. They're unable to unify all segments of the population.
Also, and I don't know what happened. This is the strangest thing. So Russia started to kaboom boom them with airstrikes and drone strikes like crazy for almost 1 month before because they said it's going to happen. So I don't know. If I know you're going to attack me big time, what you going to do? Soldier guy. Make 3 lines of defense, minefield, you prepare, you know, evacuate the city because they knew they're going to attack. I don't know what happened.
I don't think the
seriously-
soldiers knew. They would have not left the 4th Division and the Tiger Forces in Jonan at that point. But the thing is, the Syrians didn't fight. There was no fighting. My dad was telling me the 4th Division themselves, if they just have a fork and knife, they could have took over all these rebels. The 4th Division was I visit Syria every summer. I go to Syria at least twice, and once in the winter break. I was about to go now, but I stopped because of the war. But it's unbelievable what is going on. No one understands what's going on. No one understands. But this fall, and the thing that slaps me in the face most is the Palestinians that support these rebels. It is
Yeah.
unbelievable. Unbelievable.
It's the
I wish we made a
Sunni-Shia
deal
war
with Israel.
like ever forever, man.
Because what is the point of us standing against Israel? All the Arabs hate us. Even the Palestinians hate us. Because there's all these, the media corrupts their brain, and they're just so stupid to understand
Now,
simple politics.
Midwest have a solution for you, and it calls Stalinism.
Yup.
Brother, I swear, if we had Stalin, I agree with you. This never happened.
Yes. My question is, do you think that the armed forces in Syria will retain the weapons and like, because there was,
No.
it seemed like there was.
No.
What do you think happens next?
Syria, the weird thing is we don't know. It's either, right now, the Syrian lira went from 13,000 during this 8th day, it went up to 30,000, right? But now it's back down to 3,000. So the economy is going to get better because of all this American stuff going in.
Of course.
But we just don't know yet. It's either we could be another Libya, another Lebanon, or some new era. You never know if Israel's going to use us as a weapon to invade Lebanon to take out Hezbollah for them.
100%.
You know what I mean? We don't know
Yeah,
yet if they're gonna
yeah.
we're gonna be the Israeli weapons, or we're just gonna be just the cake. They're gonna split us up to
That's the
pieces.
thing. The campaign Israel is waging right now is a complete campaign of demilitarization. I mean,
Yes, totally.
the most efficient military bases have already been destroyed by Israeli missiles, and it looks like the deal that Russia made with the terrorists was to essentially keep all of its bases in Syria, but Assad had to go, and Turkey and Israel could do whatever they wanted outside of those Russian zones. So really, again, this is another story of betrayal completely, in the sense that Syria is being demilitarized, and we're watching it happen right now as we're speaking.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
Russia also
it's-
pulled out.
Yeah.
it's unbelievable. Like even Iran, I would expect more support from Iran, but we can't blame anything. It's because of Syria. It was Syria's
Yeah.
fault. Like
It
Yeah,
is
Syria's not
because
serious,
fighting.
right?
Does it make
brother,
sense? It's Syria was not fighting.
I don't want to sound like asshole, but if the Syrian army was fighting very hard, but it is very difficult because they're Western backed. For sure, Iran sent people. For sure, Wagner will pull out of Africa. A lot of guys, Russian special forces will come. But if the Syrian army just run away, then of course we're not going to fight for somebody else's country
100%. Thing is, we don't understand.
because the soldier will not be motivated. Imagine Russian soldier and the Syrian people running away, and you are standing there. Okay, guys, I'm going to fight for you.
The thing is, it was a lot of things like some in Hama. They were retreating because the rebels were using AI to generate the voices of their commanders to retreat. That's the thing in Hama. What happened? But in Hummels, we feel like they got big commanders got bought out just to tell the soldiers to retreat. We really,
Yes.
that's what I believe. I feel like because the
Probably.
soldiers, the same thing in Baghdad. That's how Baghdad fell so fast. It's because the commanders got bought out.
But the thing is as well, I mean, the internal government was in complete disunity. I mean,
Yes.
you could say in all fairness that this was a coup against Assad, in the sense that Syrian government officials, one, did not flee. Most of the Syrian government actually cooperated with the rebels, and many officials called on state employees to continue working. The army did not fight once, and the army retreated for 10 days, leaving equipment, while the Syrian prime minister was working out a transition of power. This is in all ways this is a coup. Or
Thing
sorry,
is, we
was a
just don't
coup.
understand what's going on. It just does not make sense. It does
Yeah,
not make
it's
sense.
still fog of war, really.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
And
It's very
also,
early analysis. Very early.
the crazy part is this: how big is Syria? They took it in a couple of days. This is like the fastest coup d'etat ever.
Like, if I was from Idlib, if I was
It's kind of
from Idlib,
fishy,
it
though.
would not take.
Of
10
course,
days
it's
for me to
fishy,
walk
man. You
through
cannot
Damascus.
take this big. No, I'm from Donetsk. You know, we fight for little city for
Right.
1 month.
Right.
I mean, in many ways, Syria was worse off in 2014 and managed to pull off a victory.
That's
It
what I'm
almost
saying.
makes me think like the retreat, like maybe they're cooking something that we don't know
No,
about.
because Assad already gone. Russia say it's over.
Yeah, but Assad is chilling in Russia. Maybe they're plotting something. Who knows? Maybe
But
they
I
okay,
might
honestly
but-
believe
but
Russia.
that's what
I
Assad's
was
not in Russia.
asking.
I don't think Assad's in
Marx,
Russia. I think
Marx,
Assad's dead.
you know why not? Because what they did, they pulled back. But you know, if you fight urban warfare, even a small city like Mariupol, it takes 8-9 months. Now imagine Aleppo or Damascus. These are major cities. You have everywhere you have to consider a soldier. Now this will take for months to take it back. You have to flatten the whole area for street to street, from house to house. You have to go. So this will, if they come back, it will take 1, 2, 2, 5, or 6 years to take even only Damascus, Aleppo, and Hama back.
That's what I'm telling you is that the commanders got bought out. There had to be because
Of
it
course.
does not make sense. Soldiers do not give up like this. They fought in 2017, being Damascus surrounded, and they pushed them all back within a year. This doesn't make
Arab,
sense.
maybe they didn't want to fight, like in Afghanistan. Remember when America left? Like 3 days later, Afghanistan fell. Maybe the soldiers were like this. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Oh no, you're good. I just think they were so weakened by the sanctions. This is what I was saying earlier. Like the sanctions so impoverished the country that it made people who are easy to bribe.
Syria was getting so good. Syria was getting cleaner and better and better. Last year when I went over the summer, I was shocked. They're building a whole new city, the Martani city, right near Damascus. I was seeing it get every time I go there, every month, it's a new sky high rise that's being built. They're expanding. Even the border guards are dressing cleaner. Everyone's happy. The thing is, my dad was telling me he did not expect to have this conversation in 2024. He was expecting to have it in 2017, 2014. But this what happened does not make sense. I feel like during that war of 2011, that ish of the Arab Spring, I feel like the U.S. wanted Assad to be in power just a little bit. They just wanted him to win a little bit. Because if the America and Israel really wanted to get rid of you, they would get rid of you in a heartbeat. This is proof of it. 8 days.
I don't know,
8
because
days.
then
8
Russia
days.
was fully involved. Now
But
not.
thing is, look, we had prime Russia, prime Hezbollah, prime Iran during this time. Now we had distracted Russia, weakened Iran, and almost destroyed Hezbollah. Like we didn't have what we
You
had.
have to say
before.
H group with the big H group. for the
Oh,
life.
yeah. My bad.
Yeah.
My bad.
You get
All
it.
right,
No
guys.
problem.
It was a pleasure talking to you guys. I
Hey,
gotta go.
Bratan, I wish your family health, man, and I
They're
pray for
scared. They
you
didn't
guys.
leave. I have family in all of Damascus. They didn't leave their house yet. Like my uncle left at night. He just saw little kids with AK-47s and everything like that.
Pew pew.
Crazy.
It's sad to see such. I never expected to let go of Syria like that. You know what I mean? I'm Sunni too. That's the thing. I'm Sunni too, but I
Yeah.
have a brain to understand politics.
Yeah.
Like it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
It's the Wahhabis, man. It's not the it's the Salafi, you know. It's not the Sunni.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable what happened. I would never expect it in a day. I thought this withdrawals were going to be a strategic move, but we don't know what happened. I believe Bashar Assad's dead. I don't think he's in. I think his
No,
family.
No,
no,
there's
yeah.
pictures. There were pictures.
He's pictured
Of him
with
in Russia.
with Abu Ali Putin.
Really? Right now?
Yes.
He's
Eating
in
ice
Moscow, I
cream,
think.
playing cards.
Honestly, guys. Honestly, after I seen him run away like that, I hate him now.
I mean, me too. I swear, even I say, why go to Russia if I see him in Moscow?
I've heard
I
many
beat him.
Alawis
I would have
hating him now
sent.
because of that.
I would have sent my family there, and I would have died in Syria. That's what I would have done. But died with honor. You know what I mean? Like, why would you run away after so many? I just feel bad for the people that died.
Brother, say
all
on
these
alive.
people-
Say on alive.
Unalive.
I don't lie, yeah.
Bro, this is my first time. I don't know the lingo.
No
You're
problem,
good.
no
Maybe Assad fled because of his kids, to be honest. Because his kids are like
Yeah.
super smart. One of his kids actually like speaks fluent Mandarin. You know, so
Whoa, that's some cool shit, you know.
Well, I mean, Assad was originally a doctor, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's an eye doc. Eye surgeon.
He's a smart person. He's from
so that
England.
makes me
He
think
studied.
like you know,
No.
I don't know. It's
go
just
too
so
far in
suspicious
conspiracy.
how they retreated
No,
because
no,
it was a retreat.
So,
Brother, otherwise he will do in 2014 because this was bad situation. They
So,
were encircled. Yes, sorry.
I'm reading that apparently the Iranian foreign minister had informed Syria 2 months in advance about a possible offensive around Idlib, but supposedly the Turks had come in to reassure them that nothing was going to happen.
I
Never
read that
trust the
report.
Turks. They always.
I
stab
read that
you in the back.
report. It's honestly,
Backstabbers, bro.
Turks.
Classic Erdogan. Classic Erdogan. That's
Mhm.
what
I hate Erdogan. He
yes.
says he's with the Palestinian people, but all the oil goes to Israel under his land through Azerbaijan. Like that's the thing that blows my mind.
Erdogan bowed to the Israeli foreign minister. Never forget this.
He bowed to his own pocket.
And now we basically have a direct land corridor from those two countries.
Yeah, GG,
the
well
Eng-
played. Greater
Yeah,
Israel.
they're gonna set up the pipeline now,
Greater Israel.
which Assad blocked.
Israel
Yes.
has achieved everything in a matter of a year, overtopping Assad, taking out the H group and down there.
Small,
H group
smaller
up
big
there.
age group. Yeah.
Yes, smaller H group. They took out a smaller H group. They took out the big H group, and not only that, they weakened Iran's reach. They did everything they wanted. Everything they wanted is
They kick also Russia out of their backyard, Iran back to everybody, man.
unbelievable. But things
Yeah,
that blows
no,
my
that,
mind.
that, that
dude.
plane crash of the Iranian president, I don't think that was just a plane
Plane
crash.
crash,
Yeah.
The helicopter
Right,
crash.
right,
I
you
knew,
see.
Or your
I
helicopter.
knew
yeah,
once
the
he died in that
That's-
helicopter crash.
That's
I was
like Secret Service classic, you know?
That's
No car accident, plane crash.
Well,
Yeah, Turkey may
fell
be
out
involved.
window.
I completely believe it's plausible that Turkey was involved in that.
So he came back from visiting the border with Azerbaijan, which is a known like military
Yeah.
cooperator with, you know, the white and blue country and with
Yeah.
Turkey.
Wait, Greece? No, I'm joking.
Greece,
All right.
Greece is really like the.
No,
the
it
white
was a
country
joke.
of
It
Europe.
was a joke. It was a joke.
All right, I got to wrap up the stream, guys. I got a meeting in 20 minutes, but thanks for hanging out and talking today.
That's
Appreciate
Shadaya,
it.
bratan.
Have a good one.
I'll see
See you in a
you.
bit, bro.
Syrian men, stay strong. Bye bye,
I'll
guys.
try. We'll see what happens. Everything happens for a reason, I say.
And don't forget to pray to Grandpa Lenin, huh?